Warning: some contents may be disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised. It was just another boring Saturday when I decided to surf the dark web. Looking through things to do, I found a website that will let you sell anything, and I mean anything. Browsing through it, I saw things from guns to drugs to exotic animals, along with less interesting things as well, but mostly things that you couldn't easily buy normally on the internet. It was kind of Craigslist. Given that, it allows anyone to post an ad for anything that they wanted to sell. Given the fact that I had nothing to do, I decided to make an ad of my own. The only thing was, what would I sell? I honestly didn't want to sell anything. So I decided inside to listen to my intrusive thoughts and make a joke ad. Believe it or not, a lot of people on the dark web had a good sense of humor. So I made an ad for these nuts. This would probably give someone a good chuckle. Finishing the ad, I browsed around for a while on the web before heading off to bed and just forgetting about it. After a few days of nothing, I received a message from an anonymous account. They said, "Do you do shipping and handling?" I nearly died laughing. I'm glad someone decided to play along with the joke. And with a large grin, I replied, "Nah, you gotta ship and handle these nuts yourself. As a bonus, you can see the quality of them yourself." The reply was instant. "No need, but I will be willing to handle shipping and handling for the stated price." Still laughing, I messaged him back saying, "Alright, whatever you want then, come and get 'em." After seeing his reply of, "I'm on my way," I put my phone in my pocket. It was just a fun gag, but I'm pretty sure that it was done now, and with a jump in my step, I continued about my week. Well, that was until I received another message from the same person. "I'm outside your home. You did not have a listed business address, so I hope this is okay." I was about to reply again with another smart-ass response, but as I looked out my window, I noticed a black car parked right outside of my driveway. I then got a notification on my phone. It was from my bank. It was a sum of $420.69, and it was deposited into my bank account. I stood there, looking at my phone, completely stunned, when another message appeared on my screen. "I was unable to find a business account for you, so I sent the payment to your personal. May I ask, when am I receiving the testicles? I already paid for it, and as you said, I am willing to handle shipping. I assume the organ is ready for shipment?" I'll be honest here. I was scared. I didn't put my address or my banking information on the ad. I had zero idea how he found me, but what really dawned on me was that I had no idea who he was. This wasn't a joke anymore, and I could just see how real the situation had become. I tried to reason with the man, hoping that he would leave me be. However, I was met with zero compassion. "Hey, sorry to be the one to tell you this, but that ad was a joke, man. I'm not really selling my balls. I'll give you your money back and then we'll be square, okay?" The man's reply was terrifying. "Whether you are intending to sell them or not is irrelevant. We made a deal in response to your ad, and I flew 2 hours to get here. A simple refund won't suffice. I demand my product, or currency in value to the time and the resources that I spent because of your false ad. I could tell a shakedown when I saw one. I knew that the only way to get him to leave me alone was to pay him, or maybe calling the cops. And while the latter option did sound reasonable, given the circumstances I was in, I'm not entirely sure if they would even help me, since this is technically an organ trade gone wrong, which is very much illegal. Weighing my options between jail, losing my nuts, and paying this guy money, I decided that I would at least see if I could negotiate with him. So how much do I need to pay you? I felt like shit as I typed that, knowing that I was basically being robbed with extra steps. I would say about $3,000 would be enough compensation for the trouble that you've caused me, as well as a full refund of my money. I let out a sigh. Well, at least, it's not some super high ridiculous amount that I would have to take a loan for. And feeling completely defeated, I sent him the money through the same account that he used to pay me. And once I had, he sent me another text. A pleasure doing business with you, but fair warning, never waste my time again. I won't take no for an answer a second time. And with that, the car drove off, and I was left by myself once again. And after an extreme anxiety attack, I took the ad down. I had always heard about the dark web and thought that it was a place for hackers and criminals. But after finding out that one of my friends occasionally browsed on it, I'll admit, I got curious. And after learning about it from him and how to be safe on there, I downloaded Tor and made my way into a new online world. And while I wasn't a big fan of all the illegal things on there, I did find the people interesting. I'm a psychology major, so seeing a place where people can be both anonymous and free of law made me fascinated by the kinds of people that would be on there. So, with that in mind, I decided that I wanted to interact with the people on the dark web. And after a bit of searching, I found what I was looking for. It was a chat room kind of site, a lot like Omegle, where you were matched with people randomly. There was an option to turn your camera on, but I chose not to. And while I'm crazy enough to be on the dark web to meet people, I'm not going to put my face out there for no reason. After a few hours, I was kind of disappointed. Most of them were either boring or were obviously trying to scam or hack me. So after countless skips to a new conversation, I was beginning to lose hope in finding anything interesting. That is, until I was matched with a person wearing a white mask. The word God was written on the mask forehead in a black marker. Oh, this is gonna be good, I thought to myself. Not only had this woman turned her camera on and wore a weird mask, it was clear that she was trying to scare me. I smiled to myself as I said, "Hello," in the friendliest tone possible. The woman simply cocked her head to the side before saying in a monotone voice, "Do you want to play a game?" A Saw reference? Really? Okay, I said, "Why not?" And after saying that, her screen went black. I was still connected to the call, and the camera was still on her side, but it was as if her room itself had gone pitch black. I could hear some shuffling in the background, followed by a metal scraping sound. I was both curious and a little anxious as to what she had planned for me, and after a few minutes, the lights came back on in her room. There, the woman stood, directly in front of the camera, her mask still on, but now I could see her full body. She wore a black hoodie with a hood up to cover her hair and some jeans, and if not for her voice and figure, it would be hard to tell if she was a girl or a guy. She spoke to me, saying, "I will give you 3 options." Before pulling a knife from her pocket, as well as a metal bat and a crowbar, which she pulled from out of screen. They must have been lying on her table, just out of view from the camera the entire time. "Which of these would you choose to end this man's life?" She stepped to the side, revealing a person with a black bag over their head. They were tied to a chair, seemingly unconscious. The woman stood there expectantly and waited. Did she really want me to choose? I started to panic. This was not what I signed up for. I just wanted to talk to a crazy lady who wrote the word God on her mask and wore it. At that moment, I understood why she had that mask on. She saw herself as master over life and death. This man's life was hers to play with and to do with as she pleases. And to prove that point, she's doing this, letting some random person on the internet decide how he dies. No, I refuse to be part of this heinous act. I skipped the chat and then I closed the application before the next person could connect. I had had enough of the dark web for today and for every other day in the future. Looking back, I can't help but feel regret over the situation. I keep thinking about the man that she had tied up. What had happened to him? I feel guilty for not helping and terrified of what she did to him next. I was surfing the dark web, not sure what to do on a Friday afternoon. Seeing as there was nothing better to do, I clicked on a stream. As the stream loaded, I was greeted with cheering. "Congratulations, you're our lucky winner," the streamer said. Confused, I waited to see what he would say next. "You've won an air conditioner." What the hell? The rest of the chat seemed to be very excited about this. Being obviously weirded out by this, I typed in the chat, "No thank you." And I said that I didn't want his air conditioner. The streamer chuckled and then said, "Well, okay then, if you say so." I left the chat not long after, and I spent the rest of the night watching YouTube. I had mostly forgotten about the weird interaction on the dark web until a few weeks later, when a large package arrived at my apartment door. It was a portable air conditioner. At first, I was confused until I remembered the streamer. Shit, how did he get my address? I was a little panicked, which the delivery man seemed to pick up on. You okay, man?" I took a moment to breathe and process things. All in all, while it was concerning that some dark web guy knows my address, he used that info to send me an air conditioner. And given that it was hotter than Satan's armpit in my small apartment, who am I to look a gift horse in the mouth? So, opening it up, I could tell that it was used. But whatever, free is free, right? I plugged it in, and I felt the cold air hit me. I was enjoying the coldness for an entire second, until a terrible smell reached my nose. It was rancid, and it was coming from the AC. I turned it off, and then I got a screwdriver. I decided to take a look inside to see what was wrong and why it smelled like that. Opening the air conditioner, I had to hold back my gags. Looking inside, there was a small cardboard box taped to one of the walls of the AC. The box had a smiley face drawn on it with a red marker along with a small note. Despite every cell in my body telling me just to leave it alone and then throw the AC out, I was determined to find out what the hell was making that smell and then to get it out of my house. However, I didn't want to touch it with my bare hands, so I left to go get a rubber glove. Returning, I hesitantly reached out and grabbed the note, gagging as I did because of the smell. Pulling it back and then holding it far from my face, I opened it. The note was also in red marker, simply saying, "I got you an extra present alongside your air conditioner. Enjoy!" With an exclamation point at the end, I threw the note into the trash and then prepared myself to open the box. Seeing as how I nearly puked just by being near it, I knew that I needed a mask if I was going to open it. Now, face mask, bottle of air freshener, and a pair of rubber gloves, I reached in and I detached the box from the air conditioner. The box was about the size of my hand. The tape, which had been used to both seal the box and also stick it to the air conditioner, was torn, leaving the box slightly open. I pulled back from the AC and I stood up before moving away from the machine and looking down at the box. Even with the mask, it smelled awful, like mold, trash, rotten meat, and any other horrid odor you could think of. But curiosity got the better of me. So once I was holding it on top of my trash can, I pulled back the tape and peeked inside. I instantly dropped the box and fell back. Feeling sick, I ran to the toilet, ripped off my mask, and I threw up so much that my stomach was aching. And once I was completely empty, I ventured back to the trash can and I peered back to check if what I saw earlier was indeed correct. Inside my trash can, on top of tissues, takeout containers, and crunched up papers, was a molded, rotted finger. I felt sick, but this time I had nothing to puke up, so I retched as I ran back to the kitchen. Grabbing a trash bag, I put my whole trash can inside of it and I tied it multiple times before walking outside to the dumpster and throwing everything out, trash can and all, into it. I then went back to my room and sprayed disinfectant everywhere. As I sprayed, I looked at the air conditioner, disgusted by it. I pushed and I started to move it, and then something small fell out of it. Slightly afraid of what it could be, I looked down to see a tiny camera. I stared at it and I saw a green light flicker. It was on. Needless to say, it also joined my trash can and the AC in the dumpster. Don't get things from the dark web, even if they are free. While you might think it to be the lamest thing that you can do on the dark web, I personally enjoyed using the chat rooms on it to talk to the strangest people that the internet had to offer. It was kind of fun to see who would be my next chatting partner. A lot of the time, it was almost cathartic to talk to the scariest people on the web, but you would be surprised by just how many of them are just regular people who just know a bit more about technology. Knowing this makes things less scary online, but that's not always the case. There was this one girl on the dark web who I would classify as the exact opposite of that. I had just left the last chat. I was kind of bored, and the guy I was talking to was being way too nosy and asking all kinds of personal questions that I didn't want to answer. So I just moved on to another chat room. And that's where I met her. User Lindsay504. I immediately thought that she was new to the dark web. I mean, she put her real name into her username. Anyone with common sense knows not to do that. But regardless, I enjoyed chatting with her quite a bit. And after a week of chatting, I gave her my Discord, and we would occasionally chat through there. I learned that Lindsay wasn't actually her name, and that she was pretty good with technology. She even bought me Elden Ring on Steam when it first came out, after I just mentioned it in passing. I was flabbergasted, and I tried to decline, but she refused to take any answer but a yes. I really couldn't afford to buy anything remotely as expensive, given my low-paying job, despite how hard my boss works me. And again, just like he usually does, he gave me an extra assignment to do by Monday, meaning that I would have to spend my entire weekend just working on it to get it done. Feeling stressed, I decided to surf the web until I got a message from Lindsay. She asked how I was today, and given that I'd just been given the mother load of all work for this weekend, I ended up venting to her about it. I ranted to her about how bullshit it was and how my boss was a greedy asshole. And she agreed with me and said that I needed a break. I said, "Yeah, I'd love a break if only the universe was so kind." And she answered, "Say no more. Just sit tight. I already sent someone over to pick you up." At this point, I wasn't surprised she had a private driver given how much money she spends, but I was worried for multiple reasons. A, asking me to come over to her house so suddenly was just insane, as I've never actually met her. And B, she didn't wait for me to agree. And C, I never gave her my address. I was about to argue any of these points, however, she went offline before I could get a word out. I stood there, a bit confused as what to do now, so I simply went back to work on my project. I was about a quarter of the way through when my doorbell rang. Getting up from my desk, I realized what this might be, and as I answered the door, I realized that my suspicion was correct. I was greeted with a middle-aged African-American man with a shaved head. He was wearing a suit and gave a small bow before asking me if I was finished packing. I told him that I didn't pack anything as I didn't intend on going. The man shook his head and then pulled out his cell phone. He rang for someone who quickly answered and then informed them that I wasn't coming. Then the man nodded before handing the phone to me. "She wants to talk to you," he said as he put the phone in my hands and took a step back. And with the phone in my hand, I could feel my heart beating in my chest. All I had to do was say no, so why was I so nervous? I steeled myself in the moment and put the phone to my ear. "Hello?" I said. "Hi, Eric," said a cheery voice on the other side. "Martin said that you haven't packed yet, but that's okay. I'm sure you and my brother are the same size, so you can just borrow some of his clothes." I had always been nervous about talking to girls, but telling one no? That's even harder to do. Then I remembered that I never gave her my real name, and I reminded myself that I didn't give her my address either. "How do you know so much about me?" I asked, only to hear her giggle a bit on the other end of the phone. "You told me, silly." Now, I was scared. I assumed that maybe one of my accounts was linked to Facebook or something, but I was sure that I never told her my real name or where I was. Was she trying to gaslight me? The red flags from before were crimson at this point, so I really couldn't do anything but tell her no. "I'm not going over to your house," I said abruptly. I was met with a long silence, and the tension in the air was palpable while I waited for her reply. "Why not?" Her tone had lost its cheery demeanor and became creepily hollow. "I don't know you that well, and I never told you any of my personal information. I'm not comfortable getting in a car with a complete stranger to meet another stranger." Again, silence. And after 5 agonizing seconds, she replied with a short, "I see," before hanging up the call. She sounded hurt by my words, and I certainly felt like an asshole for saying them, but I felt like I made the right choice. I handed the phone back to the man and then told him that she hung up. He nodded and took the phone before leaving, getting into his black Cadillac and then driving off. I never heard from her again, and while I assumed that that would be the last time that I would see or hear from her and her driver again, I was mistaken. About a year later, I was watching the news about a huge arrest on a human trafficking group, and as they showed the mugshots of the men arrested, I felt my blood grow cold. One of the men there looked identical to the driver who tried to take me to Lindsay's place. And here's the riddle for this video. Hello everyone, it's your creepy sister here. Thank you so much for watching the video. I really appreciate each and every one of you. But I would also like to thank my amazing patrons, my top tippers, and my dearest channel members. Thank you very, very much. I really appreciate it with all of my heart. If you want to support the channel further, you could also choose to become a patron, a tipper, or a channel member. But remember, it's appreciated, but never a requirement. I would also like to announce that we have merch now. The link is in the description of the video, along with all my other social media links, like my Discord server, Twitter, Instagram, and others. You can connect with me and send your stories there. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't yet, and comments are highly appreciated. And remember, your fear feeds me.